Spider-Man's back, and so's Beenox. How does it feel to be on your second Spider-Man title?
It's amazing. We're so tremendously proud of what we've been able to achieve. It's great.
Okay, now we're from Shattered Dimensions. We're now Edge of Time, and we have classic Spidey and Spidey 2099. But can you let us know basically how the complexities of the storyline factor into the gameplay?
Absolutely. So in Shattered Dimensions, we had a lot of different environments, a lot of different dimensions that were there. But from a lot of the fans, they asked us just to find a way to just go deeper into the characters. Based on that, we kind of picked two that we thought could work in the same time continuum, which was The Amazing Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2099. We worked together with Peter David, who's the co-creator of the Spider-Man 2099 universe, and he helped us write, together with Gerard Liani, who's our creative director, the story that's actually behind Edge of Time. We've got this crazy mad scientist named Walker Sloan, who's played by Val Kilmer in the game, and he goes back in time to recreate the universe kind of in his own making. And take control for himself. He wants to destroy Stark Industries, but he really has this personal vendetta against the Amazing Spider-Man, and you don't really know why, and it's one of those little secrets that we kind of slowly fill in over time as the game progresses.
Have you actually got this on the show floor? Have you got a Spider-Man on the show floor? Yes. Well, what should players expect to see at the Gamescom?
Well, players should expect to be able to see hands-on time playing both Amazing Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2099. So 2099, his powers are kind of based partially on his suit, the technology that he has. He moves super fast. He's very agile. So he has a lot of melee attacks. He has claws on his suit. So it's a lot of hand-to-hand melee combat. Whereas Amazing Spider-Man, his attacks are kind of medium to long range. Huge web fists, web hammers, web maces that he slings guys through the air with. So when you're playing Amazing, it's kind of medium to long combat. When you're playing 2099, it's short-range melee, and you're constantly switching back and forth throughout the game as things are happening to change the timeline.
I think it's interesting that obviously if you guys are coming off the back of Shattered Dimensions and straight into this, what sort of evolution did you see in terms of the gameplay? I mean, does this follow the same beats as Shattered Dimensions, or have you guys tried to take this in a new direction?
It's absolutely a new direction. So basically what's happened is with this time portal that's been opened up by the scientist, Walker Sloan, it's basically created these rifts that are tearing the universe apart. And basically you have a certain amount of time to undo the damage that's been done. With it, it's sent Spider-Man's spider sense through the roof. So he has something called hypersense, where he can just, for a short amount of time, move super fast and kind of slow down the world around him. You can create time paradoxes, which are small bubbles where time is just frozen. And these are just completely new elements that are specific to Edge of Time that didn't exist in our previous titles. Also, Spider-Man 2099 has his accelerated decoy, where basically he can send out projections of himself and almost virtually be in two places at the same time. As you upgrade the suit, it can be used for combat or offensive, where you send out decoys, they knock enemies towards you, and you get all sorts of multi-hit combos, where you can use it defensively when you're getting overwhelmed. You drop a decoy and you back up, and all the enemies attack the decoy. And you can even use it for puzzle solving in the game, where you drop a decoy and a turret launches a missile. It unlocks a part of the game with secrets behind it that you couldn't have found otherwise. All this is new stuff that's specific to the Spideys and really unique to this game, but still totally in the brand and great with Marvel.
You said before with the idea of sort of doing this sort of time traveling storyline, it was almost came off the back of Shattered Dimensions, something that you didn't have the time for in Shattered Dimensions. So is there other little ideas sort of drawing in the studio? You're like, well, maybe another game somewhere down the way.
Well, Beenox right now is working on 3 titles, so those aren't released and aren't announced yet. But the cool thing about it is we definitely are probably the world's biggest Marvel fans. We're so embedded in just everything that they're doing that it's great, and it's cool as a job to be able to touch all the stuff that we love as gamers and as fans. I can't really talk much about those other titles, but I can say that there's more cool content that we think of all the time that if we can't squeeze it into this game, we're going to find a way to get it into the next one.
What I find about, sorry, I keep saying Shattered Dimensions, but as a good sort of reference point, you guys absolutely nailed the character of Spidey. The humor, the hilarity as he's fighting all these massive bad guys that could probably kill him if he makes a mistake. But the comedy element was there because the voice work was superb. How do you guys carry that forward for Edge of Time?
Two different ways, actually. We actually specifically looked for those two voice performers from our previous game that had the most clear, most articulate voices that we could use for the characters. And it is in many ways kind of a matter of opinion about who plays what voice best. But we wanted to find two that could be in the same timeline at the same time, talking back and forth, and you could just hear and immediately distinguish them relative to one another, because there was so much back and forth banter between the two Spideys in this game. And so with that, I think we picked the right pair, but also one of the core elements that was important for this game was going deep into the personalities. So we took, for example, Amazing Spider-Man. He's so true to his core DNA as a character, is that he will sacrifice himself to do anything he can to save the ones that he loves, his friends, his compatriots, even his coworkers. He will do anything to protect them, even at his own cost. So Spider-Man 2099 is trying to tell him, get out of the building, get out of there. If you stay, you're going to die. That's Miguel O'Hara, who's very practical, very analytical. But Peter Parker, Amazing Spider-Man, is like, look, Eddie Brock's my friend. I'm not going to let him be controlled by this scientist. I know he's fighting this. He doesn't want to do this. I'm going to go get him, and I'm going to help him get out of this situation. Even as he knows he's going closer and closer to his death, in his mind, hey, as long as I don't go into the portal room, hey, it's fine. I can only die there, right? So I'm going to try to help Eddie as much as I can. And so Peter is never going to abandon his friends. He's never going to betray the people he loves. He's always going to do everything he can to save them, even if he's going to die in the process. And so we've gone so deep into the characters, and we've woven it in and out of the story. It's much, much, much deeper into the personalities than we ever could have done in a previous title.
Well, we saw you guys, you sort of strayed from the quintessential New York skyline for Shattered Dimensions. You took Spidey in some interesting places through jungles and such like that. In terms of next time, where should we expect to see Spidey? Because obviously after 2099, sort of the skyline is very, very impressive. But for original Spidey, where's he going to get to, and where's he going to be about for this one?
Well, there's some part that we haven't released yet and haven't discussed. For the parts that we have talked about, it takes place within the Alchemax Corporation. It's this huge, monstrous corporation that actually, by going back in time, what's happened is it's been rebuilt and redesigned as kind of this world-dominating megacorp. So if you think about just this company that kind of dominates the world, it's become that. You've got this huge complex that's been recreated by Walker Sloan in the past, kind of in his own design. So whereas in the original part, Peter Parker was a photographer, right, working for J. Jonah Jameson. Now J. Jonah Jameson is like a daytime radio talk show host, and Peter's a scientist who's been recruited by this evil scientist at Alchemax, and he thinks that's his job, that's his normal universe. And you see in some of the trailers that we've released, you watch him sitting there talking to Mary Jane, the time wave goes over him, and his badge changes from, photographer to scientist, Alchemax, and he's talking about how he's put a sample of his own DNA on file with the company and things like that. And it's how that gets exploited by the villain and how that gets used in the storyline is part of the core of kind of where the environments go.
And just to finish off, anything else you think fans of the previous game or newcomers should know?
Ooh, wow. That's a big one. Probably that we've kept all the best parts of the Spideys from our previous games, and we've taken it even further with the fun things that you can do with having the speed and agility of Spider-Man with time control mixed in. So it effectively kind of takes it to the next level. And for the fans that are just ultimately passionate about the brand, we've gone way deep into the characters and what motivates and drives them, which we couldn't do in previous games because we had so much to cover.
Listen, thank you very much indeed for the time. Look forward to playing it.
My pleasure. Thank
Cheers.
you.
Cheers.